God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. For those of you that don't know, my name is Samantha Beningo, and I am a behavioral scientist, a psychotherapist, a PhD candidate in clinical psychology, a master's level psychologist, and I am here breaking down the Karen Read murder case. And today I do have a cold, so if I sound funny, that is why. And of course, this is what happens every time I get to finals, and I've just been pushing it day and night for a week now, but finally am done. So I am almost at the end. I now only have my dissertation, my comps exam to take, and my externship. So we're getting very close, not close enough, but we are getting very, very close. Did have a little debacle last night. I thought I was all done. And then at the 11th hour, I had to rush to finish a paper because I had turned one in incorrectly with the wrong prompt. So anyway, that stuff happens when you've been in school your entire life. So here we are. And of course, just in time for the case to start. God only knows when this is going to actually get underway, but hopefully very, very soon. Unsurprising, however, given the circumstances, that it's going to take longer than any of us want. You know, it dawned on me, too, in watching this jury situation unfold this time around, it's kind of a weird subset of people. You know, how many of us can just walk away from our lives for 2 months, right? Like just exit stage left and, oh, no, I don't need to go to work or tend to my kids or, have a life of any kind. I'm just going to do this trial for 2 months. So it seems like in that process, we're already kind of selecting a bizarre subset of humans before we've even started. And I don't know if that means anything. I don't know who those people are, what it means about them. I guess a lot of us are working from home now, so maybe it matters a little bit less. I don't know. But it does strike me that the average person would not be able to do 2 months away from their lives without major consequences. So I would think most of us could claim hardship, right? Or most of us would be able to get ourselves out of this 2 month situation because of the fact that the ramifications of sitting on this trial for at least 2 months would be enormous. So I don't know what that means about this jury, but that strikes me as something worth noting. It's going to be tough listening to Hank Brennan. There's just something about that man and the gaslighting that he does that just makes him teetering on intolerable to listen to.
Well, what the government worries about is that there is other things that are relevant, like compensation, promise, reward, inducement, whether there's collaboration between one side or the other and that expert witness that they don't know about and can't ask about, that there's some type of bias or favoritism that the expert might have towards one side for whatever reason. So if that information is not disclosed, then it is not only an impediment, it creates a position where it is an unfair examination.
His tone and everything about him is tough to take. So I decided that I would offer from this point on, anytime I do a video or if I do a live stream, I will offer people exercises that they can find in the description that you can do to get through this trial, without having to be very, very anxious or without having to fast forward through all the witnesses because you can't stand listening to Hank Brennan's voice. I know I will be having to use these exercises throughout. So if you do need some way to calm down, because of what I do for a living, because I, have a library of these things for my clients to access all the time, I will make that available to all of you. There's a lot of really good quality stuff on there that will definitely diffuse anxiety, negative emotion, and just bring the stress level down a notch. And I think, God knows, we're going to need it through this disaster. And so with that said, let's get to what we're doing here today. Now, digging through, the endless rabbit hole of YouTube, I did stumble upon something that I absolutely want to share with all of you. Some of you have hopefully found this on your own, but I did stumble upon this YouTube channel that I want to share with you. The name of the channel is Be in Trouble 31. He has done all of these experiments with the taillight, with Karen's taillight. So he has tried to figure out, just by messing with the taillight in all these different ways, whether or not what the Commonwealth is claiming could be true is true. And in that effort, he has revealed some pretty interesting stuff. And he's putting in an incredible amount of effort and his own money to buy the very specific taillight. It seems like probably a few times based on the kind of damage that he's doing to them. So I'm sure it's not been cheap. And I mean, how grateful can we be to him for doing this? Because it's super helpful in giving us a sense of what's really going on here. But not only that, he's also uncovered some interesting stuff that I want you to check out now. So today, we're going to be looking at a couple of his videos, but please go to his channel, Be in Trouble 31, and check out what he's got going on because, again, a lot of interesting stuff. So with that said, let's take a look at Be in Trouble and see what it is that he has uncovered for us.
Good afternoon, everyone. Be in Trouble here.
Left is the defendant's vehicle, and I do not know who the other two vehicles are.
Now watch Karen as she comes around the front of the vehicle, and watch the circle. She has to take a big step over that big mound of snow. Another thing to point out is nobody is huddled around the rear taillight looking at it like there's any kind of problem.
You notice this is outside of John's house. This is the Ring camera.
Driveway dash cam video. And it's still snowing, but it's not really that hard. Now you will notice Mr. Reed starts brushing off the rear window, and about that time Nathan comes through and he's going to step over the big pile of snow, and he goes to do the window, but Mr. Reed's already done it. Now, slowed it down. Watch Mr. Reed. He goes to swipe the window as Nathan's coming through, and Nathan realized it and raised his hand and was getting ready to get the window, not the taillight. Now we get to listen to Buchanan's answer. First of all, we don't see all the videos. Second of all, we don't see that side of the car. Only the person that got the original Ring video knows what was in the video, because we can't tell from this angle.
I did not.
We don't know the truth because we can't see that side. The original video would have showed it, but the videos they are showing the jury are all cut up and doesn't show from the beginning to the end of what happened on that side of the car. Plus, nobody can get that close to it because of the big snow drift.
So that's a good point, right? Here we see everybody's passing the car. They're wiping snow off it, and nobody seems to be paying any attention at all to the taillight.
Here's the interesting part. Look at the hood on John's car, and then look at the back window of John's car. Right there, that's a big snow drift. And then on the back window covering the taillight, that is another snow drift. That snow drift is completely covering his taillight, which on Karen's car would be the same. And she's got a ledge. It sticks out right here. See how far that sticks out? That's going to catch the snow. And then on the side part of it, the blowing snow is going to be stuck on that, and you're going to be able to see an outline of that. See how far it sticks out. Now right here.
So you see what he's saying here is there would be a ledge. There's these two ledges around the outside of the taillight, and if that wasn't there, or if it was cracked or broken off, really smashed, obviously you would see that, right? There wouldn't be snow sitting on the ledge. And if you do look at the two sides, it does appear that there is that full ledge, right, where the snow is seated. So, but I'll let him tell you.
This is what the jury got to see. You don't see anything funny on a little 32-inch TV all the way across the courtroom. But when you zoom into the video, that's when you really get a picture for what's going on.
Yes.
Now this part, you guys, this part is unbelievable. This is the reason why we're watching this video. So you really watch now, because this is unbelievable. It's disgusting.
And using the laser pointer in front of you, if you could direct the jury's attention to what, if anything...
Now, why don't we take a closer look at this video? You can see the snow is covering John and Karen's taillights. But more importantly, on Karen's car, you can still see the outline of the taillight lens being there. Because if the lens was gone, you would not see the outline of the taillight. Because the lens sticks out farther than the insides of the taillight. There would be a noticeable divot in the snow with that much taillight gone. Enough of that. The two yellow circles are where the blurs are, and the red outline is the outline of the taillight that the snow is stuck to.
Doors, I believe it was the one on the right.
Now you can see the blurs
And
a little bit.
rang the doorbell, knocked on the door, and
circled.
we were seeing if we could
Notice
raise anybody
that.
and get any
the
response.
outline of the taillight.
And during the
Same
time
on
that you
both sides.
were you able to raise anybody and get it?
No, sir.
Unbelievable.
Closer up. Now you're starting to see the blurs easier.
You see those
The
two blurs?
are moving around because it's a dash cam looking at a solid object. The car is not moving. The dash cam is on the dash of the other car, which is vibrating because of the engine. It's shaking because of the wind, and they are moving around, getting in and out of the car. So those blurs are following the dash camera,
How unbelievable is that?
and the car is actually moving somewhat.
Look at that.
Not much, but it's moving, and whoever altered the video didn't take into account that wind and everything is blowing the dash cam car.
Look
Zoomed
at
in
that.
even closer. Now you really can see the two blurs moving around. They don't sit still. They keep moving around very slightly, but if you follow and watch them, they are moving, and I can assure you that is an altered video.
Look at the one on the
I didn't
bottom.
alter it. They altered it.
Wow.
Just for the heck of it. Closer, anyone? Now look at that dance around. That is an altered video. This case should be over immediately.
How
Every
unbelievable
video
is that?
shows Karen's rear tail light is altered. You can see the outline of the snow, which means the lens is there. Had the lens been gone, they wouldn't have had to alter it. Plus, if the lens wasn't there, you would clearly see a divot on that side.
Yes, you would.
Now, whoever altered the video, I believe, should go to prison. And go to prison for a very long time, because they are the people that is in authority and control this and can take away someone's life
How unbelievable is that?
for up to
See those
life.
dots now?
And this cannot stand. This
See
cannot
them
be
right
allowed
here?
to happen in U.S. courts. This just undermines the whole system. This is so dirty. Filthy dirty. This makes me so mad. But here's what the taillight looks like busted out. Snow's not going to stick to that. It's going to go inside of it and stick on the ledges, and where the
Right. Look
pieces
at
are
this
missing,
piece on the.
there's not going to be any snow.
Look at this piece on the
so
side
there won't
here.
be a clean outline of a
Sticking
taillight.
out.
That's how I know for 100% fact, besides the two blurs dancing around, that the video is 1,000% altered. Now look how far that taillight sticks out. If that whole lens was missing, about 2 inches of that would be dented in. There's a clear outline with two blurs. in
This
that
vehicle right
video.
here is Miss Reed's vehicle.
That is why they are keeping the jury
believe that vehicle there
far
is,
back
Mr.
with the little
O'Keefe's
TV,
vehicle.
because the videos are altered.
And I
Here it
didn't,
is
although I
in
didn't
front
know
of
it at the
your
time,
eyes,
but
with
I
a
have
police
since
officer
reviewed the
talking about how the light is busted,
So the
and clearly
finish
it's just
is-
covered with
you
snow
didn't know
with
it
two
at the time,
blurs
but you
over
have
it.
since.
It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So that's the first video I wanted you to see.
Altered them. They had no clue that the whole world would be watching. Yet here we are.
No, they did have no clue that the whole world would be watching. That is for sure. So there you go. That's that video. Pretty disgusting, pretty horrible, pretty despicable, not terribly surprising. And let's take a look at this next video, because again, Another really good one here.
We've had storms all night long, so it pretty much foiled my plans.
Now, it took me a while to figure out what we're looking at here, so I'm going to just tell you. You'll see that on the left taillight being shown here, you'll notice that the light is not being reflected throughout the entire taillight. So when you look at the right side, you have the light at the very top, and then because it's a reflector, the light looks as though it's kind of being evenly distributed throughout, comes down, and then it crosses over to the left side of the taillight, right? Well, on the left side, that doesn't happen because when the reflector part is broken and one of the LEDs is out, you're not going to get a white light. You're not going to get any light. You just don't get a light reflected across the entire taillight. And so what he's trying to show us is if the taillight really was destroyed, you're not going to see a white light. What you're going to see is no light. You're not going to see light because the reflector part isn't there. And that is really what he's explaining here with both a demonstration and then in more detail as we go through.
But it's night and day difference. I mean, you can tell. If the taillight was busted out like the Ring video, it would shine like the one in front. It's pretty obvious that it doesn't. Light's completely out, so this is what it would look like down the driveway. You can see the dark spot on the complete taillight. Different angles. It looks like there's like a blur in it, just like in the video, the Ring camera video. That blur is actually where the curve in the lens is. So it kind of casts like a dark spot in it. But I believe they took that dark spot, put it over the bottom horizontal parts where it goes from right to left, and then enhanced it to make it look like the taillight was out. But if you notice on the front one, the light on one side only comes down halfway, and then the light on the left side, it's just a little dot. It doesn't come down because the diffuser's broke out. So with that diffuser gone, the light does not go down the taillight. And well, I suspect Proctor pried, anyway, where the taillight was pried at to break that chrome piece, and broke that LED. With that LED broken, neither LED work. The LEDs are on the same circuit, so once one's broken, they're both inoperable. But it's completely obvious which one's broke and which one's not. Especially in the dark.
All right, let's go and take a look now at the actual...
Do not light up when the LED is broken. That little LED. But you can definitely tell a difference. Starting right here, you can see the red lens sticking out past the vehicle. Starting right here, you can see the blob starting to appear. It's a blur over the taillight. It is clearly a blob. Once again, you can clearly see the red lens sticking out from the vehicle. And as it progresses, you can see the blur starting right over the taillight with some funny looking blue spot, and then it morphs into a blur. And then as it goes around, you start seeing another blur on another part of the taillight.
Wow.
But you can clearly see that there's a blur. Right here, it's coming into focus, coming in. Right there, you can see red taillight lens sticking out. It is plain as day. See how far the taillight sticks out past the body? It is blatantly obvious. If that piece was missing that is red, it would be completely obvious because that red lens sticks out further than the taillight on the inside. The red part sticks out further.
Look at that.
Right here is where the blur starts. Look how big that blob is. You can see it. It looks like Texas right there. But you can blatantly see that that has been altered. You can see the red lens and the altered part. That is a complete lens that is made to look like it's not a complete lens. And the smoking gun starts here, where you can see that the bottom row of taillights is lit up, but there is a black separating blob that is covering part of the taillight. But you can clearly see that there is light on both sides of the bottom of the taillight. I will circle it.
You see what he's saying about there being light on both sides? So when you think back to the broken one that he had shown us, there was
Lucky
not
for
diffused
us,
light.
They dropped one frame where you can see the light shining on both sides of the bottom of the taillight. With it busted out, that red light wouldn't be that far down the taillight, up and down, and there would be no light on the left side at all.
That's right. There would be no light at all. And, you know, this guy has taken his own time, effort, and money to purchase this Lexus taillight, which I'm sure is not cheap, so that he can show us what it would have looked like if it really was smashed, or what would happen if a 9-pound arm actually made contact with the taillight, or what it would have taken to actually break it. So I really appreciate that and the length that he is going to show us this. So got to give him tremendous credit for that. Something else to keep in mind now, you know, when this first started, this trial, it may have been about John O'Keefe, it may have been about Karen Reed, but at this point, make no mistake about it, this trial is about these people saving their... It is survival for them, from Judge Bev to Hank to Adam Lally to the DA's office to the troopers to everybody and everybody in between, to the whole shabam. They are now in it for their own survival. And so this has very little to do with Karen Reed or John O'Keefe anymore. It is now about the district attorney's office trying to clear their own name, because if she is not found guilty and all of this stuff continues to come out, it is not a good look for anybody associated with the Commonwealth. Nobody. You know, maybe the Canton PD can claim incompetence because they are incompetent, so maybe they can get away with that. But for the rest of this group, I don't know. I mean, I just don't know how you get away with this. You know, it does not look good. I will tell you that. And I'll tell you who looks the worst of all in all of this is the district attorney's office and their cops, the homicide, the detectives that were assigned to the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office. That's Trooper Proctor. Those guys, man, they just look so bad. So bad. Let's take a look at one more from Be in Trouble 31 and see what he's got to say here.
It gives a specific,
To start off, they are talking about Karen Reed's Lexus taillight.
From the analysis of the swab or the profile that was obtained from the swab from the taillight, what, if anything, was that compared to?
John O'Keefe, standards.
And what, if any, opinions or conclusions did you come from as far as the comparative analysis between the swab from the taillight from that vehicle and the profile from Mr. O'Keefe?
The DNA profile was interpreted as a 3-person mixture, including male DNA. The profile from this item is at least 510 non-alien times more likely if it originated from John O'Keefe and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown, unrelated individuals, and this provides support for an inclusion.
3 people's DNA on the taillight And they only tested it against John O'Keefe's. That's kind of weird.
Wow.
It's kind of weird that 2 other people touched it.
Comparative analysis consistent with the DNA profile of Mr. O'Keefe. There were also 2 unknown contributors. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, with regard to that, are you familiar with that item or the profile from that item being submitted along with some other samples to an outside vendor called Bodie Technology?
Correct. That is a sample from exterior of broken drinking glass.
And with reference, were you able to generate a DNA profile from the swab or the sampling from that item?
Yes.
And what, if any, comparison were you able to do in regard to the DNA profile of Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes, so the sample was interpreted as a mixture of 3 contributors, and the DNA profile for this item is at least 530 non-alien times more likely if it originated from John O'Keefe and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown unrelated individuals, and this provides support for an inclusion.
Once again, 3 people's DNA on the cocktail glass. But they didn't think to test anybody in the house. That seems like it was by design. It seems like once they found that out, they would definitely test other people.
That is a sample from stain A on upper right leg of jeans.
And were you able to generate a DNA profile from the sample from what's labeled as stain A on the upper right leg of Mr. O'Keefe's jeans?
I was.
And what, if any, comparison were you able to do with relation to that profile from that sample to Mr. O'Keefe's DNA profile?
Yes, so the DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 3 contributors, including male DNA. Contributor 1 was suitable for comparison, and due to limited information, contributors 2 and 3 were not suitable for comparisons. And the DNA profile from this item is at least 570 non-alien times more likely if it originated from John O'Keefe and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown individuals. And this provides support for an inclusion.
And so from your comparative analysis, you came to the opinion or conclusion that the sample from the upper right leg of Mr. O'Keefe's jeans was 570 non-alien times more likely than it originated from Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
But let's completely gloss over the fact that other people's DNA is on,
on
the
his
man's
jeans.
That's weird.
This is insane. I don't even remember this. I'm sure I heard it at the time, but I don't even remember really registering that the DNA profiles that they are saying that they have that are definitively John's also have other unknown male contributors. Like, how does the Commonwealth in good conscience even present that information and just completely ignore the fact that there are unknown contributors?
And
couldn't you just take that DNA
So the
and
DNA profile is a mixture of at least 2 contributors, including male DNA. Contributor 1 is suitable for...
I mean, isn't there a way to get like Michael Proctor's DNA? Can you just follow him around like they do on cop shows and get like a cup or, I don't know, do something, go stalk his garbage and get something with his DNA and then do a match? I mean, does that DNA exist somewhere? Where is that DNA? Like, it's so frustrating.
Sir, if I could turn your attention to item 7-1.6.1. And what is the description for that item?
That is sample from stain E on upper right leg of jeans.
Were you able to also generate a DNA profile from that sample?
Yes.
And conduct a comparative analysis between the DNA profile from that sample and the DNA profile from Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
Or findings that you have in regard to that comparative analysis?
Yes, so the DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 2 contributors, including male DNA. Contributor 1 is suitable for comparison, and due to limited information, contributor 2 is not suitable for comparison.
And what is the
What does that mean, not suitable?
That is sample from unstained areas of exterior of jeans.
And were you able to generate a DNA profile from that sample?
Yes. Yes.
And what, if anything, were your findings in regard to that comparative analysis?
Yep, the DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 4 contributors, including male DNA.
4 contributors!
The DNA profile from this item is at least 553 septillion times more likely if it originated from John O'Keefe and 3 unknown individuals than if it originated from 4 unknown unrelated individuals.
So 3 other people's DNA is on the pants, but we don't have anybody else's samples.
These are samples taken from a gray long sleeve shirt, is that correct?
Oh my God.
Correct.
Now, with regard to the gray long sleeve shirt, where are the areas on the shirt where those swabbings were taken?
The right sleeve, the center front, the back left, the back right, and the back bottom of right. Sample from stained C on top, front gray, long sleeve shirt.
And were you able to generate a DNA profile with respect to that?
Yes.
And were you able to then do a comparative analysis between that DNA profile from that item and the DNA profile of Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes, I was.
And what, if any, conclusions did you come to with regard to that?
The male DNA profile was interpreted as originating from a single contributor. The DNA profile from this item is at least 58 octillion times more likely if it originated from John O'Keefe than if it originated from an unknown, unrelated individual. This provides support for an inclusion.
Item 7-18.14.1.
Well, I would hope John's DNA is on his
What is
shirt.
the description
Like,
associated
that's
with
an
that item, sir?
important detail. don't you
Sample
think?
from stain L on back bottom right of gray long sleeve shirt.
And were you able to generate a DNA profile from that, the sample from that item as well?
Yes, I was.
And what, if anything, were your findings in relation to that?
So the DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of two contributors, including male DNA. The DNA profile from this item is at least 1 decillion times more likely if it originated from John O'Keefe and an unknown individual than if it originated from two unknown, unrelated individuals. This provides support for an inclusion.
Seems like a very weird spot to have more than just John's DNA.
And, you know, it seems a little redundant to me to be swabbing John's shirt for his DNA, given that it came off of John's body. So the fact that they swab it and then they find out that other people's DNA is on it seems like a more important bit of information to me than the fact that John's was on it.
Sample from unstained areas of exterior of gray long sleeve shirt.
And were you able to also generate a DNA profile from that sample?
Yes,
Profile from that sample and the profile from Mr. O'Keefe?
I was.
And what, if any, conclusions did you come to with reference to that comparative analysis?
The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of two contributors, including male DNA. Contributor 1 is suitable for comparison, and due to limited information, contributor 2 is not suitable for comparison. The DNA profile from this item is at least 960 non-million times more likely if it originated from John O'Keefe and an unknown individual than if it originated from two unknown, unrelated individuals. This provides support for an inclusion.
Item 7-3.1. That's a sample from the right step of Mr. O'Keefe's sneaker, is that correct?
Look at the guy's face here. Just look at him carefully. This guy doesn't even answer the question. It's like his anxiety level just shot up all of a sudden. And I noticed that when I first saw this, I noticed that pause and I wondered, what was that weird pause? And then, of course, you know, he finally answers and he realizes what he's about to say. And then you wonder, like, how is Adam Lally even, like, presenting this? This is such a sham. What a freaking sham.
That's a sample from the right step of Mr. O'Keefe's sneaker, is that correct?
Yep.
And so, sir, with reference to that, what, if any, there's an indication as far as the mixture not being suitable for comparison due to the quality of the profile, correct?
Correct. It was a mixture of at least 5 contributors.
Now, I almost missed this. I was going back through this and was editing and was not completely paying attention. And then I realized what Adam Lally says here. So I'm going to play it again so that you can hear what he says here and the way he's presenting this and just how misleading he is actually being. And you tell me how any of this is legitimate.
And so, sir, with reference to that, what, if any, there's an indication as far as the mixture not being suitable for comparison due to the quality of the profile, correct? Quality of the profile, correct? Quality of the profile, correct?
Correct. It was a mixture of at least 5 contributors.
What?
5 contributors.
On the
That
sneaker?
seems like an awful lot. All of this DNA, you would think they would want to know if someone else was involved. But no, not in this case.
Yes, so during our validations, we've only validated mixtures up to 4 contributors because we've determined that once you get more than 4, like at least 5 contributors into a mixture, it becomes too complex to be able to make any reliable comparisons to that mixture.
Wow. I don't know how I don't remember that. I remember that person testifying, and so I'm sure I knew it then, but I guess it was a long time ago and so much has happened. And there's just, one of the things about this case is there's just so much information. It becomes, you just can't remember every single detail. But the fact that there was 5 contributors to one of the sneakers, and we're just like, yeah, no, nothing to see here. So what? So what? Who cares? So now it's hours later, and I am listening to this. I was editing this video, and I'm realizing Adam Lally tries to slip this sneaker in and say, oh, we couldn't detect the DNA because it wasn't a quality enough sample. And the DNA guy, at the very least, he tries to at least be honest and he tells the truth. But you could see, if you go back and watch that whole interaction again from the start about the DNA with the DNA witness, there's many instances where Lally tries to get him to give the DNA results without mentioning any of the other contributors, by asking in a very specific way about whether John was definitively a contributor. And it's fascinating to go back and then to have him at that very end, when they present the sneaker, try to tell us, oh, it's because the quality of the sample is bad. It's like, no, you piece. It's not the quality of the sample was bad. It's that there were 5 contributors, 5 different people's hands. So now I'm going to go back and I want you to listen again very carefully to that little clip that I started off with our good old buddy, Hank.
Well, what the government worries about is that there is other things that are relevant, like compensation, promise, reward, inducement, whether there's collaboration between one side or the other and that expert witness that they don't know about and can't ask about, that there's some type of bias or favoritism that the expert might have towards one side for whatever reason. So if that information is not disclosed, then it is not only an impediment, it creates a position where it is an unfair examination.
The balls on these people, it is unimaginable. It is unimaginable. Oh my God, what is happening? What is happening, you guys? Can't do it. Can't take it anymore. Ugh. All right. Yep. So we've still got another week to go now until opening statements. And so looks like we've got a little more time than we originally had anticipated. But having said that, many people suspected we would be going through the entire month of April, that the trial wouldn't even start until May. So I think we're probably still on the average ahead of schedule, honestly. I think we all got a little excited there and thought, oh, maybe we're pulling this jury together quicker than we all thought, and this trial is going to start second week in April. But no, starting next week, not terribly surprising again. But hopefully we will get through whatever catastrophic motions are on the horizon for the next 5 days. I'm sure they will all go against Karen Reed because that is the very clear intention. I don't even think Judge Beverly Canoni is trying to hide it anymore. I think it's all self-preservation. Keep that in mind, guys. It's self-preservation for these people. They are all at the point where somebody somewhere has pulled them aside and said, you find a way to make her guilty, because otherwise it's all of them who are guilty. All of them who are going to have a very large spotlight shining on them. And that's because of all of us. So everyone who is giving this as much time and effort and as attention as you are, I thank you. Keep doing it because it's working. What's happened here is an absolute travesty. And anybody who tries to tell you any other way, they're not paying attention or they don't want to see it, because the more you dig, the more you look here, the more you realize, holy crap, this is real. This is not paranoia. This is not, oh my God, they're aliens. It's an alien invasion. It is not delusion. You are not crazy. This is really happening. And how they're getting away with it, I don't know. They're getting away with it because they've gotten away with it before, because they got away with it for a long time. And they committed that terrible sin of hubris, right? You think that you are bigger. You think you are smarter. You think that you can do whatever the fuck you want. So we, us people, we the people, we are here to explain to them that those days are over and that there are new sheriffs in town. And now you're going to get your feet held to the fire. And unfortunately, poor Karen Reed wound up putting herself right in the middle of this for a lot of reasons I've already been over. But this is no longer about Karen Reed, and this is no longer about John O'Keefe. This is about self-preservation for these people. So watch out, because they're going to go to every length that they can to make Karen Reed pay. That is what Hank Brennan's job is. That is why they brought him in. That is not a coincidence, and that is not a mistake. He is here with one intention, and that is to make sure that she is guilty. So you better watch out, because these people are going to go to any length, and Judge Bev is absolutely one of them. Make no mistake about it. Wow. Well, Be in Trouble 31, thank you so much for your contributions. That was awesome. I did not know we were going to be taking a look at DNA. I just assumed it was going to be a taillight video, but there are a lot more taillight videos to look at, so definitely go check him out. And yeah, I mean, just more evidence, just because we needed more evidence exonerating Karen Reed, because we need more. So there you go, more evidence.
God save the Commonwealth of